This podcast is for singers who have music in their soul and want to be in the spotlight. We are INVICTA Vox Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of INVICTA Vox Radio. We are your hosts, as always, Mike and
Angie Lee.
And today we're going to continue a topic that we were talking about last time, where it's how do you provide more value as an artist, right? How do you get people more engaged in what you're doing and more interested in your content that you're putting out, in the songs you're creating, right?
So this is part 2.
Part dos.
If you have not listened to the last episode, make sure you go back and listen to it because we are not going to cover that. But it's definitely critical to understand those concepts for this episode to really matter.
So, even though you said we're not going to cover it, this is going to be a 2-second recap. So, if you haven't watched it, definitely go back and watch it, or listen to it if you're just listening to the podcast. But here's basically what it boiled down to, is that there's 2 rings, right? You start with the inner ring, which
of value,
which makes stuff that's valuable to you, make stuff that's interesting to you, that you actually resonate with, that you love. So that way, as you go on further and further, you don't feel like you're trapped making something that just is not you at all, right? And we find this with artists who are fabricated a lot of times, where it's like, oh man, I don't even feel like this is really me. I'm not dressing like how I would normally dress. I don't act
it's not
the
the
way
sound I
would do.
want. Yeah,
Right.
like you see this a lot with people who sign with labels and then they don't have a lot of freedom within their contract, and the label is trying to make them be something they're not. And that the music ends up not resonating with them at all, and all they can think about is getting out of their contract at that point. And so, yeah, that inner ring of value is having your music mean something to you and building value within your music for yourself.
Yeah, and you have to really be careful of that because you got sucked into it at one point in time. And then next, there's this outer ring outside of that where it's like, okay, now that you brought value to yourself, now how do you bring value to other people? And really what you're looking for is kind of the intersection of those 2 worlds, right? Bring value to you and value to other people.
Yeah, so you're not just doing it for yourself and you're not just doing it for others, but you understand that you can do it for both.
I just want to kind of introduce this concept of the sellout, and a lot of people get stuck in this concept, but really you're not a sellout unless you're letting other people dictate how you interact with your music, right? And that kind of goes back to, hey, I'm being fabricated. Someone is telling me what I need to do with every facet.
Right.
But what connecting or really the mindset that you need to be in as a musician or an artist is that you're an entertainer. You're meant to bring something, bring something to your audience. And so what it comes down to is like, people love to listen to sad music when they're sad. They want something that kind of blends into their emotions. Like when I go to work out, I want music that's going to get me pumped up, that's going to get me energized for my workout. Or if someone's going to a party, or if you're at a party, a lot of times you're going to, if the party's more amplified, you're going to have like party music in the background, stuff that really drives the energy.
Or if you want to calm down or meditate or relax, you're going to gravitate towards that kind of music. That's going to allow you to be in that vibe.
Right. Or just even party that's a little more relaxed, you're going to have stuff that's more like background music.
Sure.
Right. Like I remember we used to always jam on Say It Ain't So by Weezer and just always kind of just have that chilling in the background, or maybe some Sublime or something like
Anything
that.
from the Weezer Blue album.
But really, that's where you need to be aiming for, is creating music that people can really resonate with, that it draws you in.
Connection. It's about creating a connection. Right? It's not about just entertaining them, but it's about, grabbing them with that entertainment factor so that they feel like they can connect with you, so they can feel that energy from you, but then creating a lasting connection. And really, I think people get so hung up on what I want to create for other people that they miss this simple truth. It's not the question isn't what do people want from me? The question is, how can I connect with people?
Yeah.
And if you ask yourself the how can I connect with people question instead of how do I get them to like me? How do I give the best music to them? What do people want? It doesn't matter what they want. They're going to love your music if it's something they're pulled to, they're gravitating to naturally. And then if you can find the connection point, then you are going to be creating music that both works for you and for your listener. Instead of trying to people please, we are connecting. And I think that's it. That's the point, right?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And that's where true entertainers, I don't even know if entertainer is the right word, but a true performer, someone that's out there, yes, they have this unique ability to first connect with their audience, to connect with the emotion that they're feeling in that moment, and then drive it to another place, drive it to the place that they're trying to have it go to.
Yeah, and I think that totally comes back full circle, whether you're the artist creating the song or you're the performer performing the song. And in your case, you might be both. You might be the person who's creating the music and then the person then that goes out and performs it. But if you're a songwriter creating for someone else, you still have to consider, how do I connect to people when I write this song? How do I connect to people when I write this music? Especially if someone else is going to perform it for you, and also if someone's going to perform it, right? And then as a performer, if you're the person who just sings the song, then you have to find that connection to your song, whether you wrote it or not. You have to find that connection and what it means to you so that you can then connect that to the audience. And those things are so, so important, and understanding how to communicate and understanding what people are looking for from you in that respect.
Yeah. So in a way, as an artist, you're more like a bridge, right?
You're the creator of the content.
And you're connecting the art to the audience.
Sure.
And so if you keep that in mind as you're performing or as you're creating your art and your music, it's really going to help you get more appeal, more attention, and just a stronger audience in general.
People that actually care about you.
Yeah.
Not just like the fleeting, oh, that was a cool song, next.
Because if you do try to people please, people are very good at sniffing that out. It just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. And it's just like, okay, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And they move on quickly. Because I would say that when most people shift to that outer circle, that second circle, that's what they try and do is just people please. Or they start there before they go into the inner ring and trying to make sure that they're happy. They're trying to get validation from other people first. And in a way, they don't connect anything anymore. They're just trying to like, hey, look at this.
Well, and the other thing that you have to consider to you guys is we're not speaking to you can only have this deep content when you produce music. That's not what we're saying. The content is irrelevant because it's like Mike said earlier, if you want to party, you're going to find a party song, right? Do you connect with the party song you're writing? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, every fiber of my being connects with this song.
Right, like party rock anthem. Not everybody's not like, oh, this is touching my soul. Yeah, no, it's just fun, and you're looking for fun in that moment.
And so your connection to that song might just be like, I just want to have a blast. Like this is all I care about. I just want to go out and party and do whatever.
Yeah.
So
I just want to have a drink in my hand and shuffle into a room.
Exactly. So I mean, so that's what you have to consider, though. Even though we're talking about a deep connection to your song, we're not necessarily talking about deep content. It can be any type of content that you want to produce for your audience because that content is something that is valuable to you. It's content that will be perceived and valued by others, and you're going to sell it by connecting to it so that you can connect to your audience. So just that's the whole concept here, right?
Right.
That's it. So that's the next point in kind of what we were talking about last time with that inner ring and the outer ring. So how do we drive that to the next, the next point is connection. It's all about connection. And so just make sure that the stuff you're writing, you actually care about. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like this deep, dark, awesome stuff. Like it's just a connection of something you care about so that you can then sell that to people by connecting to them with those songs.
So in trying to get your audience and trying to make your stuff more attractive, step one, focus on connection. Because that's really a huge step, and it just needs to be your mindset going into it, first of all.
Yep.
So the next thing is it's a way to gauge your content, your music, really anything you're putting together, anything you're creating. And I like to break it down into 3 levels, kind of 3 main stages. And that's interesting, engaging, and moving.
Yeah. Ooh, this is cool.
So, and this is really kind of easy to think about if you put it in the context of, okay, you're flipping through your social media, you're scrolling, bam, 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 and then you come across a video and you see so many of these videos, someone playing the piano, singing in their front room.
And it's black and white, and maybe you can only see their hands, or maybe you only see the side of their face. It's a weird angle.
No, most of the time it's just them at the piano,
Right.
microphone, and you see 1.5 billion of these, or
Maybe no microphone.
Yeah, or somebody's friend films them doing karaoke or whatever it may be. But it's just these videos where it's like you scroll to it and you go, okay, that's kind of interesting. And you look at it for 5 to 10 seconds.
If that.
And then it's like, okay, I've seen this 1 million times before. I've heard this song. I've heard songs, 100 million songs like this. I'm just going to move on. It was interesting for a second, but not worth anything.
Or also you might get to it and you're like, well, I can't turn the sound on right now, so I'm just going to keep scrolling.
Right.
It just
But
doesn't
that's
grab
kind
you.
of a unique scenario, right? But in general, it's something where, say you do have the sound on, everything's there, and you just look at it, it's like, okay, this is run of the mill, this is pretty average,
Sure.
and you move on.
Yep.
Okay, so that's level 1.
Yep.
The next level I like to think
And
about.
what was level 1 again?
Interesting.
So,
So
interesting.
It's like, I'm interested.
And moving on.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yep.
So the next level is engaging, right? So this is where people are scrolling. Again, at first it catches their attention, it catches their eye, and this can be for several different reasons. We'll dig more into this in a minute, but you look at it and it's like, wow, it kind of grabs, it does more than just like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It really grabs your attention. And when it grabs your attention, you actually look at it, and not only are you interested for 10 seconds, but there's something about it that just engages you. All of a sudden you're engaged in that content, in that song, and you're going to give it 10 more seconds that then turns into 20 more. And then you've watched the whole video, you've listened to the whole song.
Yeah, because you're actually entertained by it.
Right.
And that's when entertainment, that second level comes in, right? You're engaged, you're entertained. They're kind of synonymous. And so you might give it 20 seconds to 1.5 minutes, you know?
Yeah, or you'll watch the whole video.
Or you watch the whole thing on IGTV.
Right. And
Right.
so with that, it's just you're beyond interested at that point. So you are engaged. And this is where you'll start to build fans. You'll start to get people to follow you. You'll start to get people who like your content, who subscribe to your channel.
Maybe comment on it, share it a little bit.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, that was more than just slightly interesting for me. That was really engaging, and I got value out of that. This is why we talk about value so much, because what you're going to find is these 3 levels are how much value you provide to your audience. And
because they reciprocate back to you, whatever value you've given to them, they will then reciprocate back to you.
Right. And then this 3rd level is, I just like to call it moving, because what it does is it then takes you from that place of, okay, I'm engaged and I really like this, to I felt something from that.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where I love how in the beginning you were talking about, hey, this is really about connection.
Yeah.
Because making it to this 3rd level is all about pure connection, right? Really communicating that emotion that you're trying to get across, that feeling, that atmosphere, the vibe. And that's when you make somebody really feel something. And if you can make somebody really feel something, then you start to build real fans from it.
Well, yeah, because once you connect with somebody, you've built a relationship.
Absolutely.
So then you are building these true fans, these people who they've felt something from you and they're going to keep coming back. And not only that, when someone feels something, when you are moved by something, you share it.
Yeah.
So you continue to share it to your friends, you share it to your dog, like you share it with everyone. And not only that, you then start making playlists on Spotify and Apple Music. And you're like, okay, this song is going to be the crux of this playlist. And now I have to find all these other songs that are like it because it moved me.
Right.
And then at that point, you're looking for more songs like that from that artist. You're waiting for more from that artist. And again, you've shared it with a ton of people because you love it so much. And so the nice thing about people sharing it with their friends is that if they like you, it's, a good chance that their friends are going to like you too because they're like-minded people. And so that's why moving someone is so important. That's why connecting is so important, because we are actually trying at the end of the day to create relationships. We want relationships with the people following us. And that doesn't mean that they're your best friend now. And that doesn't mean we're trying to have stalkers on Facebook and Instagram. That doesn't mean that you're going to, go do something over summer vacation together. It just means that you've created a connection and a bond between each other through this understanding. And now they're true fans because they feel like they know you. They feel like that you're a part of their life. And it's because you moved them.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the party rock anthem or with something that, maybe they connected with you because you both lost a loved one or something like that.
Yeah. And when you're moved by something, so when it kind of attaches itself onto an emotion that you're feeling, like we just keep bringing up party rock anthem because it's so easy to think about, right? Like when you're in a good mood and you're happy and you're bouncing around and you hear that song, the next time you're in that mood, you're going to go back to that song or other songs like that have moved you and really made you feel something and connected the emotion to the art. And like you said, it creates that bond. It creates a relationship between a feeling and then something that you go to that reinforces that feeling.
Absolutely. So Mike, the big question that I think everybody has is, how do I do that?
I know. And that really,
because it's like conceptually that makes total sense, right? Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I gotta create connection with people. And we have these incredible tools to do that now with social media and YouTube and all these things. So now the big question, the lingering question is, what's the next step after that?
So,
and really, I think maybe we need to go into another episode to do that.
Yeah, we probably do, because really there's a lot to it. You got to think about it in several different steps. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of times, like if you guys are watching this video, it's like step 1, step 2,
step 3.
But
so we're really talking, this episode's really about the steps to connection, right? How we're going to be first being interested, engaged, and then moved.
And so, so just to recap this episode before we move on, or recap what we've said so far, is when you go to make your content, after you've made something that's good for you, right? Mm-hmm. Then the next thing you need to do is, as you're going through it, you need to think, is this connecting to other people? Okay, so
that's the question.
Focus on connection. First thing, is this connecting and resonating with other people? And it may even be just a small niche, which that's marketing and advertising, and that's for a different podcast.
But it might just be a small group of people who really you attract with that.
But focus on connection. So build stuff for yourself first. Then make sure that you're connecting with other people on it. So go into that mindset. And really what it'll help with is go into that from the beginning. I'm going to create stuff that's good for me, that I love, that's
I
also
connect with.
Connecting with other people. Yeah, connect with yourself, connect with other people. And then as you start to really look at your content, look at your songs, step back and look at it. Or if you can't come up with a real honest opinion from yourself, bring in other people to kind of categorize it into one of these 3 areas. Do you find this interesting, engaging, or moving? Yeah. And I know that sounds very like survey ish, right? Like, hey,
But
on a
actually-
scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate
No,
this?
for real though. Like in marketing, we talk about it all the time. We want to do an ask campaign. We want to ask people what they're liking. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, right? Go play your music, go try it out, see what the audience responds to. It's the same thing with your posts now. If you want to get feedback from people who are fans of yours or people who really do support you, ask them what level of interest it spikes. Are they feeling, that true connection to you? Are they just, moderately engaged, or are they just kind of interested in it? It's really important.
Yeah. No,
And it's going to give you direction on your posts going forward.
yeah, it's absolutely important because like you said, it just helps you understand where you need to be heading, what's hitting the mark and what's not.
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of save how we move from step to step to step for the next episode because
So I guess this is
really,
the 3-part thing now. We're going 3 parts.
Sorry, everybody.
Part 3.
This was going to be a 2-part episode. Now it's 3. And so
3 arc. That's great.
you will just have to wait until the next episode to hear the conclusion of this. But what I do want you to do is think about this and comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, throw it in the comments. If not, like Angie always brings up, go to your journal, bust out your pen, open up that journal, crack
Write
that
it down.
bad boy open,
Declare.
and just write down, like, are you focusing on connection with your music or with your content? And then the second part is, where do you think you're generally landing? Are people interested in what you're doing, engaged in what you're doing, or moved by what you're doing? And you're always going to fall into some aspect of that spectrum. Even the best artists out there hit all 3, right?
The most seasoned people are constantly flexing between all of those things.
Right. So, but where do you generally land in that spectrum? Is it like high-end interest, but not quite broken through to engaged yet, or so on? So just think about that. So again,
because knowing where we are with that makes it possible for you to then look at what's working and what's not working and move forward and make it better and better.
Okay. And with that, as always, if you know anybody that would benefit from this podcast, please tell them about it. I mean, we're obviously not doing any ads, no charge, no paywalls, nothing like that. We just really want to try and help as many people as we can with this podcast. And
subscribe, share it up. We'll share the love, one artist at a time.
Until next time, everybody.
Peace.